Joined here by Alex Rivkin, the chair of the, or co-CEO, sorry, of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. Great to have you with me, Alex, but I'm afraid it's another one of these incidents here where we have to talk about some sad stuff and some unfortunate stuff that's been happening on the campaign trail. The LNP member for Fischer, Andrew Wallace, has had one of his core flutes, or at least one of them, vandalized in what's been described as grotesque vandalism, spray painted with a swastika and a whole lot of other stuff. Tell us about this, and why are they targeting Andrew Fischer here, Alex?
Well, thank you, James. Andrew is someone who's perceived to be close to the Jewish community and a supporter of the State of Israel. He's been very vocal in the positions he's taken in support of Israel in the federal parliament. And this is not the first time this has happened. Several months ago, his core flutes were daubed with swastikas. Now we see him depicted as an Orthodox Jew. And the vandalism of electoral material, it's nothing new in Australian politics and Australian democracy, but it's reached whole new levels. And since October 7, we've seen this increasing targeting of politicians. We've seen the vandalism, the picketing of political offices, the prevention of staff from even entering their own places of employment. We saw the horrific attack on Josh Burns's electorate office. And in particular, we're seeing the targeting of those who are either Jewish, as occurred in Josh Burns's case, or those perceived to be close to the Jewish community, as in Andrew's case. So it's really the culmination of what we've seen for 18 months, which is the extremism in our politics and the targeting of the Jewish community.
It's just absolutely shocking, and I cannot believe that we're still having this going on so long after October 7th, and it needs to be called out everywhere. But I also want to talk about some of the other political deals that are being made here, and Labor's preference deals in particular. Now, I thought this was extraordinary. Mark Dreyfus has committed to a vote-swapping deal with the Greens in his safe Labor seat of Isaacs. Alex, I found this almost impossible to comprehend, how Mark Dreyfus, the most senior Jewish member of the government, would be doing a deal with the Greens, who are so, blatantly and nakedly, and have been called out for being an anti-Israel and many times anti-Semitic party.
We're really disappointed with this, James, and our position has been clear from the very beginning. We think both major parties should preference the Greens last, regardless of what the implications are seat by seat. Sometimes there are things that are more important than winning votes and winning seats, and that's something called principle and integrity. In 2001, John Howard preferenced One Nation last, arguably to his detriment in doing so. But again, it was a matter of principle, and it's difficult to see someone like Bob Hawke or Chris Minns in New South Wales preferencing the Greens in this sort of a deal. And Mark Dreyfus, as you said, is someone who intimately understands anti-Semitism. He's someone who supports the State of Israel, and he knows exactly what the Greens have done to this country and what they've done to the community. He knows the manner in which they've incited against some of his parliamentary colleagues, including Josh Burns, as I mentioned, whose office was targeted, what they've done to the police force and the way they've spoken about them and incited hatred against them. So for Mark Dreyfus to then tell his supporters to put a number 2 next to the Greens candidate in his seat, it's a really disappointing move.
Well, yeah, and why wouldn't he follow the suit of somebody like Josh Burns in McNamara, who confirmed that he would not preference the Greens and run on an open ticket because, he knows exactly what's at stake with the Greens. A very principled stance here, you'd think, from Josh Burns, but it's a shame that Mark Dreyfus wouldn't take it on board.
Look, I agree. Josh is someone who's acted on principle, and he's copped a lot for it. He's attended every vigil in support of Israel. He's been there from the very beginning. He's supported the hostages, and he's faced enormous hostility in his own electorate for it. And I think he's acted with great integrity in what he's done. And it's a shame that some of his colleagues couldn't take the cue from Josh, who's a relatively junior member of the party, and show the sort of integrity and principles that he's demonstrated.
Well, and Alex, the thing that really has struck me through so much of this here is that so much of what Labor has done when it comes to Israel has been about trying to pander to votes in communities that are anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian, and yet it clearly hasn't worked. And there's huge, blowback from this, because we have also learned today that the Muslim vote-backed candidate Zad Basuni, who's running to unseat Tony Burke in his Western Sydney electorate of Watson, has said now that he would push to not just dismantle the Jewish state, but also push for reparations for Palestinian refugees. Labor torched itself when it sold out Israel to try and, be electorally popular, and now they've created this monster in this Muslim votes movement. What is your reaction?
Look, it just goes to show that when you're dealing with fanatics and extremists, they can never be satisfied, they can never be placated. You can't meet these people halfway. And the candidate here, and I read his remarks, has expressed tired 80-year-old positions that have always been about the same thing, which is the destruction of Israel. Doing what couldn't be done through 3 invasions, through intifadas, suicide bombings, October 7 international boycott campaigns. They couldn't bring down the Jewish state in that way. And now they want to do it by stealth, claiming that they support a unitary state where everyone lives in peace in a democracy. The only problem with that is that polling in the Palestinian territories has consistently shown that upwards of 90% of Palestinians don't want democracy. They want to live under Sharia law. When they had free and fair elections for the one time in their history, they elected Hamas, not exactly a bastion of democracy. So the notion that this candidate supports peace and justice and reconciliation is a fiction, it's a farce, and he's trying to hoodwink the electorate. But ultimately, I think he'll be found out for it.
Absolutely right. Well said. Now, Alex, before I let you go, Peter Dutton has slammed the International Criminal Court and said that if he becomes prime minister, he would happily welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to Australia, despite the court's ruling against him. Have a listen to this.
Without hesitation.
So he would not be arrested in Australia?
He would be a welcome guest in our country, and he would be accorded the respect as the Israeli Prime Minister should be accorded. I hold very dearly the relationship with Israel.
We know how politicised the ICC has become. I would assume that this is being welcomed. This would be welcomed by the Jewish community.
Look, it's very pleasing to hear, and that wasn't hard. That wasn't a difficult thing to say from Peter Dutton. And we all know that the ICC has vastly been politicised, exceeded its remit. Its mandate is solely to investigate those from failed states who don't have robust judiciaries and separation of powers. Israel does have that. It has no basis for investigating Israel whatsoever. And it's disappointing that our foreign minister, when asked the same question by Michaelia Cash, could not directly answer whether Benjamin Netanyahu would be welcomed in this country. But Peter Dutton there demonstrated how easy it is to say the right thing and do the right thing and stand by an ally in a critical time.
Alex Rifton, couldn't say it better myself. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it tonight. Thank you so much.